1410, and we'll give you all of the information that you need to start promoting your business on the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
A first-class field including Rory, Scotty, and Xander.
And Rory goes flag hunting.
The PGA Championship. First coverage starts at 7 a.m. Eastern, May 15th to the 18th on ESPN+. Sign up now at espnplus.com/golf.
He's outrageous and usually off base, I might add, but I love him anyways. That's why I sit across from the Mad Dog, Christopher Mad Dog Russo, every Wednesday to set him straight. First Take starts at 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN.
Jaylen Brown, can he do it again? No, because Bridges wrestles the ball away from him just as the New York Knicks wrestle game one away from the Celtics.
You have to take a look at the process of what we're trying to accomplish, and, we were able to accomplish good results for the most part, and like I said, there's probably 8 to 10 shots that we could be better at for sure.
It's a really good team. It's a game of runs. Now they made some plays, they had some shots, and, we responded, we gave ourselves a chance, but, we just gotta be better in the margins.
When we were on air last night, the Celtics and the Knicks were in action. And at the half, Boston led by 16 points, Brandon. Home teams filling in for Ian tonight here on Amber and Ian. Amber and Ian is presented to you by Progressive Insurance. Boston was up by 16 at the half. And by as many as 20 at the 5:47 mark in the third quarter. I mean, Boston was squarely in control of that game, and it seemed like it was going to be a nothing burger, right? And then things changed, and the Knicks outscored Boston 53-30 from the 5:47 mark in the third forward. They snatched game one from the grips of the Boston Celtics, and in large part because the Celtics shot an NBA postseason record 60 three-pointers. The problem wasn't shooting them. The problem was that they weren't going in the basket. They missed 45 of them. 45 of 60 they missed. The NBA playoffs are on ESPN Radio. Catch postseason action on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app, presented to you by Indeed. So, of course, we are going to hear from all sorts of people about that collapse, Brandon, and about their inability to switch up the game plan. Let's start with the head coach, Joe Mazzulla of the Boston Celtics. He was asked about the three-point shooting in the second half.
The Knicks shot, I think, over 50% from three in the second half there. What's the balance for you guys of wanting to help versus staying home on those shooters, and how much freedom do you give your players on that front?
Where'd they shoot from three in the second half?
I think over 50%.
So they made them?
Yes.
Man, what a novel idea.
There's a lot of those where they're...
That's a novel concept, huh?
Right.
Just make them when you're open? Yeah.
Would you like to answer the question, though?
I just did. Make them. I mean,
I'm asking about your
defense. I'm not. I think I'm really just talking to you. I think it's such a cool duality of your question, to where I'm getting asked all the ones that we missed, and you come in and start with they shot 50% in the second half, and I'm like, oh man, what the duality of that question is just really cool to talk about. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So sorry.
Thanks.
We start the press conference off by saying, you took all these and you missed them, and then you say, they shot 50% in the second half from three. Yeah, you got to make them.
Joe Mazzulla, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah, that's bad. The defense was bad. That's a bad answer. You can't come to a presser like that. And, yeah, you can knock down threes, and clearly the team that makes more threes when one team is missing 45 of them is certainly going to be in a better position. But did you play good closeout defense? How was your fourth quarter defense, and why did you continue to shoot shots that continued to fall, not only in regulation but in overtime when you kept shooting them? So I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth, which is where Joe Mazzulla was going. It was a head-scratching performance where you're putting up 63s, but the Boston Celtics lead the NBA in three-point attempts. They shoot the ball 90 times, and they shoot 48 three-pointers a game. So nearly half their shots are three-pointers anyway, but when they're not going down, and you have Jason Tatum, and you have Jaylen Brown, and you have a situation where you can get to the cup, and you have guys that can make baskets outside of just shooting threes, I think the coach does have to answer those questions, and you can't deflect because the other team made their three-pointers. They didn't have to shoot 60 in order to outshoot you from the three-point line. So I think you have to take some responsibility, and that's a bad set of answers coming out of that loss when you still had a chance to tie and send it to a double overtime.
The Knicks only made 2 more three-pointers than the Boston Celtics. The thing was, though, the Knicks took a whole lot less of them. The Knicks took 37 three-pointers. They made 17. The Boston Celtics took 60, and they made 15. So if they had only shot 30, they would have also shot around 50%, right? Maybe that's the key. And that's going to be the question about Mazzulla. You mentioned it's been the identity of the Boston Celtics all season long. Heck, they won them an NBA championship last season. So who am I to judge? But the one thing that maybe I will question is the inability of Joe Mazzulla to make the in-game adjustments. I do not think that the Boston Celtics should abandon the three-point shot or abandon that team's identity. Again, defending champs. But when it ain't working and the shot ain't falling and you're having an unusually terrible night in that regard, maybe at some point you say, all right, let's take our foot off the gas in terms of beyond the arc. And that would have made sense to me if, in fact, they had done that at some point, maybe even if it was only in the fourth quarter. They did not do that. They stuck to their identity, and all they did was lob up three-pointer after three-pointer after three-pointer, and the darn thing was never going in the basket. Brian Windhorst, ESPN's NBA insider, was on NBA Today, and he was asked, what is repeatable from Knicks' Game 1's victory?
What I do think is repeatable, what the Knicks have shown they've been able to do for a while now, is win clutch time, because they have the best clutch time player in the NBA. So however they get to clutch time in any game in this series, whether it's by hook or by crook, by missed free throws, missed three-pointers, whatever happens, that is what I think is repeatable. I think they can win clutch time. They've also proven that they can win on the road. They're 4-0 on the road in this postseason, 3-0 in the last series. They win in Boston in Game 1. I don't think they can count on the Celtics having historically bad volume shooting nights. So, but obviously, this is how the Knicks have to get through. They have to steal games here and there. They're 1 for 1 in that one.
The Knicks were tougher than the Celtics last night. And I said they had exhibited immense toughness in round 1 as well going into this series. The Celtics have been tested a lot less. Heck, the Celtics were tested a lot less even last year, dancing through the playoffs and making it and winning an NBA championship. And so the Celtics, I think this series is far from over. But obviously the C's are going to have to toughen up a little bit and not let the Knicks do that to them again.
And that's why I said I was talking out of both sides of my mouth, because what the Boston Celtics need to do is keep shooting, keep doing what they have been doing. And I think they have already been validated in their style of play, one by winning an NBA championship last year, going for back-to-back titles this year. But the same thing people are saying about them was said about the Golden State Warriors in their multiple runs to championship. No team can keep shooting threes. They're too small. Eventually, those long rebounds are going to catch up with you. Nope. They were able to put 4 championships together, and nope, it's just one game for the Boston Celtics. The concern is that the closeout time. You had a 20-point lead at home, and you blew it, and you got absolutely barbecued by Jalen Brunson in the fourth quarter. You had Drew Holiday all over him, one of the best defenders in all of the NBA. He couldn't do anything with him. They're lucky that his floater right over the hands of Al Horford in regulation didn't go in, or else he would have been done in regulation. So Joe Mazzulla, that was not the way, in my opinion. He should have gone to the microphone. Maybe should have humbled himself a little bit, but he's got a good team. They should keep shooting three-pointers, and you got to figure tonight or the rest of the series, I don't think we're going to see the Boston Celtics miss 45 trays in another game.
It was funny, we're calling Jalen Brunson clutch time, and he did have that miss, but we do forget about that. Kendrick Perkins, ESPN's NBA analyst, was on Get Up, and he said the Celtics have to adjust.
It was horrible. And it's just like my grandma used to say, old people, certain people are just stuck in their ways. And that's the Boston Celtics. And I kept saying to myself, in the first half, you had so much success driving to the paint. Karl Anthony Towns, Tills finally came out of the drop coverage. They were switching pick and rolls, and they was attacking. And then all of a sudden, you watch the Celtics. Derek White, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum alone went 10 for 41 from 3. And I look at Jason Tatum and I say to myself, at what point as a guy that's striving to be great, the leader of this team, that you're going to put some pressure not only on the defense, but on the officials? I played with Paul Pierce, and Paul, when his shot wasn't falling, he would get to the basket. He would get to the free throw line. If the Celtics are going to continue to hang their hats on shooting three-point shots in this series without attacking the paint, especially with Tom Thibodeau having a big switch on the pick and rolls, they're going to lose this series. I'm telling you straight up. They're going to lose this series.
Perk's finger is already on the panic button a little bit. Let's try to get one more in here quickly, because Dan Shogneski from the Boston Globe was on Joe and Q, and he called Tatum and Brown lazy.
It's just stupid. I mean, guys like Tatum and Brown, that's why Boston's so hard to beat. They get a little bored or inattentive or lazy. But if they're applying, these are 6'7", 6'8", 6'9" wingmen who just have the skill set. They're in their athletic prime, 8, 9, 10 years in the league. Brown's handle's not great. Tatum's is better. But basically, those kind of players in the NBA would put their head down and go to the hoop. They're either going to get fouled or they're going to get 2. And that was not there at all. 19 out of 20 shots are threes in the third quarter, for crying out loud. So, yeah, kind of annoying to watch and lazy. I would expect they'd come out with a different mentality in Game 2 tomorrow night.
We can call it lazy. Like you said, Brandon, it's been their identity. It feels like the easy thing to do is to say, well, it's lazy to keep throwing up the shot. But they should have at some point driven to the hoop.
Right. You were lazy not going to the basket, and the Knicks weren't to hit bigger shots.
Right. If the shot actually falls for the Boston Celtics, it'll be a whole different conversation that we're going to be having moving forward. All of a sudden, it'll be like, it's great. They're great. Right? It's their identity. Look at them shooting so well. Coming up next, Ant, is he taking over the NBA? That right here on ESPN Radio.
Hey, it's Evan Cohen. Coming up Wednesday, the second round in the NBA playoffs. Roll on, and we'll continue to react to it all. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Are you ready to make a difference for the environment while helping the visually impaired at the same time? Then donate your vehicle to Heritage for the Blind today by calling 1-800-983-6530. Every donated vehicle will either be properly recycled in an eco-friendly manner or given a new life through reuse. Donating your vehicle is easy. Simply call 1-800-983-6530 and Heritage for the Blind will do the rest. They'll even arrange for your vehicle to be picked up at no cost to you. And for a limited time, when you donate your car, you'll receive a $200 restaurant voucher and a 2-night, 3-day hotel stay at one of 50 locations. Call 1-800-983-6530 right now to schedule your vehicle donation and make a positive impact on the environment while helping others. Heritage for the Blind, where every car donation counts and every person makes a difference. Call 1-800-983-6530 now. This advertisement is paid for by Heritage for the Blind.
The Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers, weekdays at 3 p.m. right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits.
Hey, Steve, let me ask you a question. When did you lose your manhood, sir? I think the better question is, when did I lose my sanity by taking calls from you?
Paul Feinbaum, weekdays at 3 Eastern on the ESPN app and the SEC Network.
This is Freddie and Harry.
When the Heat culture works, it's because when they have superstars. Your culture looks a lot better, Harry, when you have superstars that are producing. Right now, your best player is Tyler Hero. He can't be your best player. That's why Pat Riley and the Miami Heat are where they are right now. And I don't know if there's any answer out there other than Heat culture, trying to find gems and hoping they become diamonds with the Miami Heat.
Check out more from Freddie and Harry weekdays at 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Hey, it's Evan Cohen. Coming up Wednesday, the Cowboys have been extremely quiet this offseason. So does that mean they finally turned a corner? It's Unsportsmanlike 6 a.m. Eastern right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
He's outrageous and usually off base, I might add, but I love him anyways. That's why I sit across from the Mad Dog, Christopher Mad Dog Russo, every Wednesday to set him straight. First Take starts at 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN.
Saturday on ESPN Radio.
On to the warning track. He has done it again. Austin Riley.
Austin Riley leads the Atlanta Braves in a PNC Park to face O'Neal Cruz and the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Back there on its way. Gone. And the Pirates win.
The Braves at the Pirates. Coverage begins Saturday at 3:30 Eastern with first pitch at 4:05 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app. Presented by Progressive Insurance.
Eastern Conference semis continue in Cleveland. The Pacers lead the series 1-0. They're 5-1 to begin the postseason, if not won 6 of 7 to open a postseason run since 2003-04. The Cavs trying to avoid an 0-2 fall tonight, but are shorthanded. Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, and DeAndre Hunter all out. Hasn't mattered to this point. Cleveland up 7, 20-13, 2:34 remaining in the first. Donovan Mitchell has been big, 6 early points. Max Strus has added 5 for the Cavs, shooting 41% from the field in the first. The Pacers went more than 6 minutes without a field goal in the opening quarter. Miles Turner has a team-high 4. Tyrese Halliburton with 2 coming off that 20-point performance to open the series back on Sunday. The Cavs -6.5 on ESPN Bet tonight. In the NHL Eastern Conference semis, Game 1 in D.C., Capitals and Hurricanes. The Caps moving past the first round for the first time since they won the Cup back in 2018. Hurricanes 8-1 in series when they win Game 1 under head coach Rod Brindamore. Their only loss was the 2022 Eastern Conference semis against the Rangers. Scoreless with 9:23 remaining in the first. Canes -135 on ESPN Bet in Game 1. In baseball, Yankees and Padres in the Bronx. Michael King on the mound for San Diego, facing his former team for the first time, was a major piece of that Juan Soto trade last offseason, stranding a couple of scoreless first. It's scoreless in the Bronx.
Hey, it's Evan Cohen. Coming up Wednesday, the second round in the NBA playoffs roll on, and we'll continue to react to it all. It's Unsportsmanlike 6 a.m. Eastern right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Doncic, two-man game with Hachimura, drives into the lane, twists the body, missed the layup. Said he got fouled. He's arguing, now trying to get back down floor. Here's Edwards gliding by and lays it in as Minnesota goes by 6.
Minnesota may have their hands full tonight. 9:30 p.m. tip-off. The Golden State Warriors are going to be in town. Anthony Edwards is maybe not young enough to be some of the Warriors' sons, but, close to it, Brandon, at least in NBA terms. He certainly is, because the Warriors are the second oldest team in the entire league. And Anthony Edwards is 23 years old. Obviously, the young kid on the block. But Ant has been anything but young when it comes to being a legacy killer and being always unafraid of the moment. Amber and Ian is presented by Progressive Insurance. Protect your auto, home, and business today at Progressive.com. So, Brandon, home team's filling in for Ian tonight. The question becomes, is Ant going to be the face of the league? And let's revisit what he said back in February.
Tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
Tell the truth. You can and will be that guy.
Well, I'm capable of being that guy, but I don't want to be that guy. Put it like that. I want to be the guy to just show up and hoop and just kill dudes and go home.
Well, that's what he has been doing, if that's all he wants to do. Home team.
I don't believe him. I don't believe him. Those were the words of a 23-year-old young man having fun at the All-Star game, having a good time, and living his best life. I don't believe him. You know what? Why? Because he is listening. He is watching, and he is using what people say as motivation and fuel to have chips on his shoulder, which is what all of the all-timers and faces of the league do. He wanted to hear people say Lakers in 5. He wanted to let people know he heard people say Lakers in 5. He likes the fact that he got to walk outside of the arena and walk the streets of L.A. to troll everybody after he took out LeBron and Luka. I don't believe him, Amber, when he says he doesn't want to be the face of the league. Maybe not in February, maybe not now, but you're not going to convince me, and he won't either, if he's able to get to the Western Conference Finals again, or if he does make it to the NBA Finals, he does not want all of the spoils that come to the victor.
Ant has been playing remarkably well this postseason. He's one of 4 players averaging 26 points, 6 boards, and 6 assists so far this postseason. But it's a lot more than that, Brandon, because we're talking about a 23-year-old who has erased KD, Jokic, LeBron James, Luka, all from the postseason, and now has an opportunity to do that to Steph Curry and Draymond Green. And boy, would that go far in solidifying where we think maybe this direction for Ant is going, even if Ant doesn't want it to go that direction. Is it really up to whoever is the face of the league, whether they're the face of the league? I mean, LeBron strikes me as, he would have crowned himself that regardless, but he is that, right? I mean, we were calling him the king, even though he's also referring to himself as the king and quite literally crowning himself. We, I think, get to decide who is the face of the league, really, right? I mean, I don't know if it's the player himself or if it's just sort of who we think of first when we think of the NBA.
Well, primetime placement will tell you who the face of the league is. If Minnesota becomes the filler, LeBron James, he won't be here 3-4 years from now when those Laker games that certainly took up so many slots in prime time over the last 20 years, and anytime LeBron was on TV, when they decide, the powers that be decide who that team is it Victor Wembanyama? Is it going to be Luka Doncic in the Lakers? Or is it going to be an Ant-Man-led team in Minnesota? That will dictate not what he says, not what we say, where they place him in prime time and how many of those he gets. It's coming because his style of play, his charisma, his really bridging of the gap. A lot of the criticism, Amber, of the NBA now is the attitude and the perception that guys are just overpaid, paid well beyond what the greatest of all time had ever been paid. They don't seem to care, and they don't show it on a regular basis, and he is the antithesis of all of that. He plays like an old school player. He wants to be a two-way player. He likes playing defense on the best player in the league. He doesn't mind talking trash to Kevin Durant. He doesn't mind any of the stuff that a lot of these young new jacks don't do, that don't inspire people to watch for long periods of time or go buy tickets when they used to. He can say whatever he wants. He is going to be Ant-Man, if you can hear me. You are going to be the face of the NBA. Get ready for it, brother, and love it.
He's out there talking trash to Kevin Durant. He's also out there talking trash to the fans.
Yes. Well,
he does not care who he's talking trash.
He talks to the fans, yes.
By the way, I liked how at the beginning of everything that you just said is on point and was eloquently said, but at the beginning of it, you said 3 or 4 years from LeBron, and I like that you hedged it with 4 years just in case.
Yeah,
we're all so scared of the LeBron experience. We're like, maybe he'll play at a 45. We saw Brady do it, so we could be living in that world. But I agree with you about everything that you were saying there, and I think more than anything, those things that you referenced with how hard he plays and the trash talking and that he does seem to put in the effort, I think really what that is to fans is showing that he enjoys it. Ant looks like somebody who loves playing basketball. And that, I think, is really the biggest gripe for fans with some of these other guys. They're making hundreds of millions of dollars, and they don't seem to love this sport as much as we love this sport sitting here watching it. And you always want to feel like your athlete is living and dying it with you, even if, frankly, for them it's a business. You don't want to be so aware that, hey, you're just going to work, right? You want them to feel as emotionally attached to this thing as you feel as a fan. And you get that from Anthony Edwards. You get that level of emotion. You get that level of fun. And I think that's why people point him out is, hey, this kid, he's got what it takes from a personality perspective and, frankly, from a game perspective as well. Stephen A. Smith, though, he says, slow down. Ant has to win the West to be the face of the league. Here's Stephen A. from First Take.
It's not Ant Edwards' league until he wins the West. He doesn't even necessarily have to win the championship, but he got to win the West.
You don't have to win the championship?
Not really, not yet, because again, Steph is Steph, LeBron is LeBron, and we're certainly not elevating him above them as of yet in terms of cachet, but the cachet has elevated exponentially. There is no denying that. The flip side to it is, who is the definitive individual that you're pointing to? I agree with you about Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum deserves so much more love than he receives. This brother's special. There's no doubt about it. But Steve Kerr didn't help Jason Tatum, I'll tell you that much. But that's a different subject for another day. In the end, what I'm thinking about with Ant-Man, the brother's box office. And the more you see him, the more you want to see him. But still in all, if you don't have the championship, they're not going to give it to you.
Jason Tatum's an excellent player. What he's missing, I think, really, frankly, is like that special personality component. Jokic is the best player in the entire world, but Jokic doesn't always look like he likes playing basketball. Sometimes he seems like he'd rather be harness racing, so it's maybe a little hard for him also to be the face of the league moving forward, Brandon.
But what you just did and what you just said is exactly the point, Amber. Take any criticism, and that's not bad criticism, take any criticism that Mr. Grouchy, I don't like NBA basketball because of this, has to say in his arsenal. I don't like the NBA players today because they don't have personality. Well, Ant-Man does. I don't like the NBA today because all they do is shoot threes. No, he'll go in and dunk on you and your grandmama if she's down in the post. I don't like the NBA players because they act like they don't care. No, he cares much. So every criticism of the NBA and other players and other superstars that, cranky NBA guy has to throw out, it does not apply to Ant-Man, and that is why he is going to be and should be the face of the league.
I like cranky curmudgeon NBA guy because we all know him, and he absolutely exists.
It's the shorts. It's the chain. Pick something. It's always something that rubs or itches cranky NBA guy, and they know good and well they would like to watch a Game 7 of an NBA Finals. They just don't want to admit it.
I also think an important component of this conversation with Ant is his age, right? Like a Giannis, to me, too much of his career is spent at the same time as LeBron, for example. So part of this is just that Ant is 23 and that he's going to be playing for a really long time after LeBron James leaves the league. At some point here, that's going to happen, presumably so, even if we're all a little nervous about when predicting that is going to actually occur. I disagree with what Stephen A. said there in that clip from this perspective. He says Ant has to win the West for it to be his league. I don't think Ant can do anything right now for it to be his league because I think it's LeBron's league and Steph's league and Kevin Durant to a lesser extent the league until those guys decide to leave it. But if you have to put your money on a guy after them, then I think Ant is a pretty safe bet because also he's young enough to be able to ride the wave of these last few years of those guys being in the league to then go on to his peak after they've departed from the league. This dude is still 5 years away, at least, from his NBA peak. That's pretty crazy to think about.
Yeah, and if you look in the annals of NBA history, when the stars of stars win their first title, they're in their late 20s.
Yep.
They've been through wars. They've been through battles. They've almost gotten there, and then they've been knocked down. And then they usually get, some help, some reinforcements come in. Now, you start off now at 23, you have Rudy Gobert. So you do have, a future Hall of Famer, in my opinion. But you can't look at the Timberwolves and say, this is a championship team because Anthony Edwards can carry them to the finish line. No, they have a long way to go, but he is well ahead of the curve. He has all of the ingredients. It just comes down to winning. I do see Stephen A's point that, You can't just do it in the regular season and then be there for us for a round or two. At some point, similar to Luka Doncic, I think it really bolstered his narrative, the fact that he already got a team to the NBA Finals. I think that will be on the ledger that Ant-Man has to fulfill. But at 23, I mean, goodness gracious, the guy 3 years from now, the guy's going to be 26. Could he not do it 3 years from now and still have the respect that should be put on his name? Absolutely, he could.
Absolutely. Right now, by the way, the Cleveland Cavaliers are demolishing the Indiana Pacers 35-19 right now. Under 10 minutes left in the second, just under 10 minutes left in the second quarter right now. 35-19. So a banged up Cleveland team, seemingly no problem, even though they're shorthanded against the Pacers so far. Coming up next here on Amber and Ian with home team filling in. We will keep you updated on this live action. Also get you updated on the NHL as well. But is it the right move for the Clippers to move forward with Kawhi and James Harden? We'll talk about Los Angeles here on ESPN Radio.
Saturday on ESPN Radio. Austin Riley leads the Atlanta Braves in a PNC Park to face O'Neal Cruz and the Pittsburgh Pirates.
And the Pirates win it.
Coverage begins Saturday at 3:30 Eastern with first pitch at 4:05 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app. Presented by Progressive Insurance.
For over 40 years, Harley-Davidson Azenia has been a proud part of the local community. We're a family-owned business, open 7 days a week with events every weekend. There's something always fun going on. Whether you're looking for a new bike, accessories, or just want to connect with your fellow riders, we've got you covered. This is Kim Arrington, Operations Manager for Harley-Davidson Azenia, where family fun and community come together.
Save big on brunch for mom. All in the Kroger app. Buy 2, get 2 free on 12 packs of Coca-Cola, Pepsi, or 7-Up with your card. Then get flavorful medium Hass avocados for 69 cents each with a digital coupon. Shop these deals at your local Kroger, less than 5 miles away. Or tap the screen now to download the Kroger app to save big today. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Prices and product availability subject to change. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Missions to Mars, driverless cars, AI chatbots. Feels like we're already living in the future. Robinhood is built for the future of trading. Robinhood's intuitive design makes trading seamless so you can spot opportunities and take control of your trades. You can now even trade stocks and crypto all in one place. Sign up for a Robinhood account today. Investing is risky. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, is a registered broker-dealer. Trading during extended hours involves additional risks. Cryptocurrency services are offered through an account with Robinhood Crypto LLC, NMLS ID 1702840. Robinhood Crypto is licensed to engage in virtual currency business activity by the New York State Department of Financial Services.
What is it about Chamberlain University that makes our nursing students so successful? From faculty, peers, and professors, we've got you with a community of care. We've got you with reassurance that lifts you up and encouragement that guides you through. We've got you because care isn't just what we do, it's who we are. We've got you with a culture of support that gives every student peace of mind in knowing you've got this, and we've got you. That's what you can expect from the #1 largest nursing school in the country, Chamberlain University. Belong to something greater. Certified to operate by Chev.
Benjamin Camara and Big Kev bring you Dayton's only local sports talk show dedicated to professional wrestling. Don't miss Cards Subject to Change. Every Thursday night at 6 p.m. right here on 1410 ESPN Radio and on the iHeartRadio app.
To go on your front line that can play on the offensive end and also the defensive end.
Check out more from Freddie and Harry weekdays at 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN Radio. It's an interleague showdown in Cleveland.
Deep right field, and this game is tied. Monster home run from Harper.
Bryce Harper and the Philadelphia Phillies face Jose Ramirez and the Cleveland Guardians.
Gone! Jose Ramirez.
The Phillies and Guardians on Sunday Night Baseball. Coverage begins at 6 Eastern with first pitch at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN.
The PGA Championship on ESPN. There's nothing like the first. The first player at the very first tee.
What a morning we've got in store for you here.
A first-class field including Rory, Scotty, and Xander.
And Rory goes flag hunting.
The PGA Championship. First Coverage starts at 7 a.m. Eastern, May 15th to the 18th on ESPN+. Sign up now at espnplus.com/golf.
Game 7 at home a year ago, answer the bell in this 7th game. The Nuggets are on their way to a round 2 showdown with top seed Oklahoma City. Game 7 goes to Denver, 120-101.
You had a healthy Kawhi. You had a healthy James Harden. And yet, the Clippers could not get out of the first round. Brandon, Amber, and Ian is presented to you by Progressive Insurance Home Team. Brandon Leak filling in for Ian tonight. A very disappointing end for a very good Los Angeles team, even if they lost to another very good team there in Denver. Brandon, and I think a lot of people were surprised because we had all forgotten how good Kawhi Leonard was, and then he was back and he was fully healthy and he goes into a postseason. We all remember, that dude, he's great, multiple final MVPs, like that guy's pretty good. And then they still fall, even with Kawhi for most of that series, looking like the best player in that series, and Jokic was in that series too.
You know, people think that Kawhi Leonard is 57 years old. He's only 33. He's 33 years old, but with all of the games that he misses, and then you have a season like this one when he played in only 37 games, and he's clearly being saved for the postseason. He's ready to go, and then they get blown out in Game 7. Really disappointing, and a lot of it falls on James Harden because you have to have a 1-2 punch. James Harden that was his 7th Game 7. He now has lost 4 Game 7s with 4 different franchises, and for him to put up 7 points and then not talk to the media, nowhere to be found afterwards, I think that should give you a glimpse into what the Clippers should be doing. Now, a lot of it is out of their hands because James Harden has a player option for $36 million, and the question will be, does he want to push a button and get himself $36 million? Or
who would not?
Yeah,
who would not? The only people who don't want to push that button are people that can get more than $36 million, and James Harden ain't one of those people.
There you go. Or does his team think he could get 2 for $65 or 3 for $90 somewhere? I don't think he can. So they may be at the mercy of James Harden. I think that this experiment, when you look at the Western Conference, Amber, it's not over. It's OVA, over, because they're not going to pass the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're not going to pass Ant-Man or whatever that becomes. They're not going to pass Luka when they retool the Lakers. They are in a place where they're in playoff purgatory, and they're only going to go so far. They already clearly aren't better than the Denver Nuggets, and so it really is too bad that you had different incarnations for the Clippers. Their owner has done everything he possibly can for that fan base. The Intuit Dome, one of the more just fun places on the planet to go watch a basketball game, and he's done all he can do, and it really is too bad. We have really passionate fans, but they have a team now that's going nowhere, and if James Harden opts back in, they are going nowhere even faster.
Lawrence Frank, the Clippers' president of basketball operations, said that he still has total and complete faith in James Harden and Kawhi Leonard.
Everything that we wanted from James, we got it and then some. We have a great level of appreciation for what James did this year. Kawhi, you guys know how I feel about Kawhi. I definitely believe in those two.
I guess he only wanted 7 points from him in a Game 7 because that's what they got. Here's the deal. Right? Here's the deal, though, with James Harden. We knew that was coming because it's James Harden. And we have a very long NBA career here as a body of work for James Harden. He can disappear at pivotal moments in the postseason. He did have 13 assists in that game. He did only have 2 turnovers in 35 minutes of play. Not all the stats across the board were bad, but obviously you need more than 7 points from James Harden. However, Brandon, he was the reason that they were where they were in the regular season. James Harden is still one of the best regular season players in the NBA. And so if I'm going to play devil's advocate here, I would say that are you paying Harden all that money just for the postseason? Are you paying Harden all that money for the regular season? And can you then be able to ensure that you have enough in the postseason even when he disappears? Because I guess I feel like if you're going to take on James Harden as a player, that has to be the strategy from the franchise. This dude's going to be great for the better part of 82, and when we get to a postseason, we're going to have a different plan. Not in every game, because he shows up sometimes, but we're not going to be able to rely on him to bring the huge offense in a Game 6 or a Game 7 that's a must-win.
That was a well-put and impassioned speech. That almost sounded like your last name is Harden, because that was beautiful, Amber. He is absolutely paid to show up in the postseason. And now, with the play-in tournament, when you're looking at the Warriors, who were, almost teetering out of making it to the play-in tournament. Look at the Phoenix Suns, who didn't even make it to the play-in tournament, and the disaster that's become. You absolutely, and James Harden is absolutely required to show up for the postseason. The Warriors, doesn't matter what they're seeded. They need to get in and see if Jimmy Butler can stay healthy to take them as far as they can go. So they certainly like James Harden. You're right. He did a lot of the heavy lifting, and he did not anticipate doing that. He probably should have with Kawhi Leonard's track record of missing a lot of games, but he did.
He kept them in it. He kept them afloat with the absence of Kawhi.
I am not going to excuse that in a Game 7 again. And now you have 7 points, single digits, and then you don't even stand. Listen to how impassioned the executive management team is about James Harden. He walks away and doesn't address the media, doesn't address the Clipper fans and say, you know what? I have to be better. I swear before all that I know, I'll be back and we'll do better next year. Nope. He's just on to Cancun, and he'll be back there, and he'll decide whether or not he'll opt in for his $36 million to do the same old thing again.
Well, that's the thing. It's the same old thing again. If James Harden, at this point in his NBA career, comes out and says, I've got to do better, I'll do better. No, you won't. We have seen this movie for over a decade, and we know that you're not going to do better. We expect, you know what we are? We are like that girl that keeps thinking she's going to change him. Okay, we've all been there, ladies. Some of us have been there numerous times, ladies. We think we can change him. We can't change him. He's not changing even for you. That's not a you thing. That's a him thing. And that's James Harden. Now, James Harden has been in the postseason 16 consecutive years. That, in large part, is because, though, Brandon, he is such a good regular season player that he hasn't been watching the postseason on the couch. There's something to be said for that.
He's also been playing with Hall of Famers, Chris Pauls and Kawhi Leonards and Russell Westbrooks and Kevin Durant's. I don't have a violin small enough to play on the strings to hear anything other than he did not get it done again.
You're not going to change him, ladies. He's not putting down the lemon pepper wings. He's not getting out of the club. He's James Harden. He's not showing up in a Game 7 for more than 7 points. But he will show up for you during the regular season to give you just enough hope for you to think that he's going to change this time. This time, it'll be different. He's just got to love me a little bit more. Coming up next, what NFL teams have had the best offseason?
Hey, it's Michelle Smallman, and coming up Wednesday, SGA and the Thunder blew a huge lead in Game 1 to the Nuggets, but I'll tell you why fans shouldn't push the panic button on the Thunder just yet. It's on Sportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
You promised.
I took the garbage out.
No, I'm talking about all the work we need to get done around here.
I know. We need a new roof and we need replacement windows.
How about a new bathroom and some overdue remodeling?
And how are we supposed to pay for all that?
My sister said she called Remodeling Loans and they were able to find her certified contractors.
That's great. But how'd she get the money to pay for all that?
Remodeling Loans offered 0 interest for 60 months. They even have payment plans with 0 down and 0 deposit.
Looks like we're getting a home makeover.
Great. Now, if I only knew someone to call for a husband makeover.
Really?
Remodeling Loans is the #1 leader in home improvement financing. Call 800-921-1403 today for a no credit check, no risk approval. Get approved today and we'll match you with the best contractors in your area. And remember, no deposit financing is now available. Call 800-921-1403. 800-921-1403.
How do you achieve the ultimate shopping experience? Choose a Cub Cadet dealership. Discover a wide range of Cub Cadet mowers, parts, and accessories. Get unrivaled expertise, ongoing support, and other advantages you can only find at your local dealer. Some dealers offer delivery options, so your purchase comes fully tuned and ready to mow. Head to your local Cub Cadet dealer, East Lawn and Garden in Urbana at 1632 East U.S. Highway 36 today for exceptional equipment, expertise, and more.
Live from the internet's red carpet, it's Verbo's 2025 Vacation Rentals of the Year. Our annual showcase of the very best of Verbo. Selected from over 2 million private vacation rentals, this year's list features breakout hits like a ski-in, ski-out mountain chalet and a modern beach compound with unobstructed ocean views. And with discounts on select stays of 1 week or longer, these critically acclaimed homes might be more affordable than you'd think. Head over to Verbo.com, that's VRBO, to check out the official list and make it a Verbo.
Coming to you live from the Superbook Sports Studios in Kettering. You're listening to Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Leads the Atlanta Braves in a PNC Park to face O'Neal Cruz and the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Back there, on its way, gone! And the Pirates winning.
The Braves at the Pirates. Coverage begins Saturday at 3:30 Eastern, with first pitch at 4:05 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app. Presented by Progressive Insurance. This is SportsCenter.
I'm Nick DeLuca. Eastern Conference semis in Cleveland. Pacers up 1-0 in the series. The Cavs trying to avoid being the first #1 seed to go down 0-2 at home since 2018 in the NBA. They're on top by 13 in the first half, 47-34, 4:44 remaining in the second. Donovan Mitchell has helped step up with Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, and DeAndre Hunter all out tonight due to injury. Mitchell has 12 points on 4 of 11 shooting. Max Strus, 11 points in the first half, 3 of 6 from the field for the Cavs, who are 40% from the floor tonight. Pacers went 6 minutes in the opening quarter without a field goal. Miles Turner has an Indiana high 11. Tyrese Halliburton trying to get more involved on offense has 5 points, 2 of 2 from the field. Cavs -6.5 on ESPN Bet tonight. Road teams 3-0 in Game 1 to start the semis in the NBA. The Nuggets stole Game 1 in a thriller in OKC last night. Denver star Jamal Murray says they're enjoying the underdog role.
I mean, no one ever expects us to win, so for years it's been the same. We just deal with it and go do our thing and yeah, be ready for it to play. I mean, no one expects us to win though, ever, so I don't know where that's going.
Game 2 tomorrow night. In the NHL, Game 1, Capitals and Hurricanes in D.C. Scoreless after 1. Shots 12-5 in favor of Carolina. The game on ESPN TV.
What's up, kiddos? Clinton Yates here. Coming up on Wednesday, Anthony Edwards is trying to remain the Giant Killer as he takes on Steph Curry and the Warriors. We'll break down Game 1 all show long. That's Wednesday on Clinton and Friends at 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
To Dallas, Texas.
I'm ready. How about that, Cowboys?
To you. This is Amber and Ian on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, and on SiriusXM Channel 80.
We're keeping you updated on the live NBA action like they just did there on SportsCenter. Of course, the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs action as well. And Brandon is here, home team. He's hanging out. He's filling in for Ian tonight here on Amber and Ian. Amber and Ian is presented to you by Progressive Insurance. But we have not, Brandon, forgotten about the NFL because it is always NFL season around here on ESPN. Let's get to our top 5 NFL teams that had the best off seasons.
This is The List.
You know what? You just made the list.
The List with Amber and Ian. Number 5.
Home team, you want to kick things off for us with your number 5 team that had the best off season in the National Football League?
I'm gonna go with my Atlanta Falcons. Worst sack numbers the last 5 years. Worst sack numbers the last 10 years. Worst sack numbers the last 15. And worst sack total numbers in the NFL the last 20 years. What do? They get Jalen Walker out of the University of Georgia with the 15th overall pick. Took a little flack for trading away the first-round pick next year to get back into the first round to get James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee. But the man was able to have the highest sack rate in college football and pressure rate the last 2 years. So having a putrid number of sacks over the last generation, I think the Atlanta Falcons did exactly what they needed to do. And now with Michael Penix Jr. taking over the reins for the first time as a starter for the entire season, he's going to need a defense to help him get the ball back, close out some games, and not have the offense do all of the winning. I'm putting the Atlanta Falcons on the list at number 5.
I am starting my list in maybe a surprising place. The Cleveland Browns come in at number 5 on my list. Now, a lot of people are saying, what the hell was Cleveland doing this offseason and in the draft? But, Brandon, I have a philosophy. If you need a quarterback, you take every quarterback that you can find until you find one. Because that's how rare it is to find the guy who's going to be your franchise guy, and Cleveland has a long history of not doing that. So let's bring in every quarterback that's ever existed. Let's bring in the ones in free agency. Let's draft multiple quarterbacks. Let's do it. Let's go. Do I think that was their plan? No. I don't think it was their plan. I don't think their plan was to go for Dylan Gabriel and then still draft Shedeur Sanders when already they brought in quarterbacks in free agency and, oh, by the way, still have Deshaun Watson on their books. Who cares? We need a quarterback in Cleveland. Go ahead, get a quarterback. And they put themselves in a position to at least attempt to do that. Also, with some of the trades here, they can address it next season if they don't, find the guy. Plus, they drafted a corner and a running back. They got the Myles Garrett situation behind them. So there's other things about this offseason for Cleveland that I liked. Moving along.
Number 4.
I'm going to say the Tennessee Titans. When you're dealing with Ryan Tannehill, when you're dealing with a situation where you have Will Levis, it didn't work out. When you're dealing with Marcus Mariota, when you're dealing with Zach Mettenberger, when you have Jake Locker, you go back to the annals of Titans quarterbacks, it has not worked out. This one feels like it has a great opportunity to work out. And so you have the number 1 overall pick. You get a franchise quarterback. You get a guy that threw the most touchdowns in college last year. And you get a very likable, gritty, tough, winning quarterback in Cam Ward. That is a win. And when you have a player like that, as the years roll on, if he is all that he's cracked up to be, perhaps other superstar players will want to come play with him in free agency, and they can build something in Tennessee and have a quarterback they can be proud of for many years to come.
My 4th team, the best NFL offseason, is the Denver Broncos. I liked what they did in free agency. They brought in Evan Engram there at tight end. They brought in a couple former 49ers, Hufanga, the safety. He was an All-Pro back in 2022 for the Niners. Obviously, they bring in Greenlaw as well. And then they drafted a corner. They drafted a running back. I felt like they addressed their needs there in Denver and that they continued to improve. I feel pretty solid about their offseason. Moving along.
Number 3.
I'm going to go with the New England Patriots. You got Gray May. You have yourself your quarterback. You have a bunch of picks. What do you go and do? You go and help him out, and then you go with your first pick and get big fella Will Campbell, LSU's monster of a man who's supposed to block for him. And then what do? You go get him another weapon in Travion Henderson out of Ohio State. Then what do? You go get him Kyle Williams, wide receiver out of Washington State. You want to get serious. You want to help out a young quarterback. Give him some weapons. And I think with all of the picks that they used, they did fill out the roster pretty well when you're talking about from top to bottom. But with those top 3 picks, you can give your quarterback a chance to be competitive, get some momentum, get some chemistry, and find a way to be number 2 in the AFC East. Josh Allen and the Bills are going nowhere. You don't know what the Dolphins are going to be doing. You now have a shot now for a young quarterback to have a chance to win some games in the NFL.
I'm going to make my third team the Baltimore Ravens. I liked what they did in the draft. I'm not talking about the moral component of this with Mike Green, but they might have gotten great value there with Mike Green, the edge rusher. There's a reason that he fell in that draft. They bring in Malachi Starks as well. That's going to be a really, really good safety for that team, for a secondary that needed help and is getting help. They drafted a running back as well. I felt really good about what the Ravens did in this NFL draft, and heck, they're already a really good team, Brandon, so I feel like they got that much better for a team that did need some improvement, particularly in disrupting quarterbacks, and that's what they addressed.
Number 2.
I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears. Same thing the Patriots did for their quarterback. Finally, the Bears got it. I thought they did not do a great service to Justin Fields when they took him. He took the beating of a lifetime. He did not have the weaponry around him. And what do they do now? Their second time when they get a do-over. Caleb Williams now coming into the league, and they get him Colston Loveland, big tight end. You already have a big playmaker. You already have DJ Moore there. And then you throw in the fact that you help him out when you get Luther Burden III out of Missouri. So now, when you have a young second-year quarterback coming in, when he has pressure barreling down on him, he can go to the left, he can go to the right, he can go to a hot route, he can go to a tight end, he can go to a wide receiver to the left, he can go to a wide receiver that can jump and make plays. That's how you start to help a young quarterback be consistent and get a little bit of confidence moving forward early in his NFL career.
I like that one as well, but I am going with the Washington Commanders here. They bring in Laramie Tunsil in a trade, and then they draft a bunch of O-linemen to protect their quarterback. Basically, everything that the Washington Commanders did this offseason, when you add it all up, was to protect their most important asset. And that's what you've got to do when you've hit on the quarterback. When Jaden Daniels looks as generational as Jaden Daniels might look, you go ahead and you address the protection around him. You get better where you need to get better, and you also add depth, which is all things that the Washington Commanders did. I liked their NFL offseason.
Number 1.
I have to say, and they deserve it, their fans, this is the life of this fan base. They have one of the more passionate fan bases ever in all of sports. And about once a decade, they find a way to get to the top of the mountain. The New York Giants. I think they did a really good job. They take Abdul Carter. The only thing they need to work on is let him know what retired means. No, you can't have the 56 LT jersey. No, you can't have 11 that belong to Phil Simms.
Take a different number, man.
Yes, you could have another number. Stop picking numbers of the all-time greats. Other than that, they got a great pick out of them. Then they get back into the first round and get Ole Miss quarterback Jackson Dart. They then add Cam Scattaboo, running back, in the 4th round, and then they fill out their roster with an offensive guard, with a tight end, and a cornerback. I think the New York Giants, now hopefully getting their quarterback that they missed out on the last time, getting a running back that they lose when they lose Saquon Barkley, and then getting somebody that can beat your brains in on a regular basis in Abdul Carter. I think the New York Giants were the winners of the 2025 NFL Draft.
I really liked what the Giants did in the draft, and I strongly consider putting them on this list, but it's also the New York Giants. And instead, I went with another team that you're going to say, yeah, but your number 1 is the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh!
But here's the deal, Brandon. I liked the aggressiveness of James Gladstone. They're very young, as everybody points out, general manager. Nobody can get over how young he is, but also how aggressive he is. He came in to make a statement. Is that statement going to work? I don't know, but it was a hell of a statement, and I like people that come in and have the goal to do that. You trade up, you take Travis Hunter. None of us saw that coming. You get 2 for 1 with a dynamic talent like Travis Hunter. I think it was a smart move. Also, keeping him close to home there. And obviously a move that Travis Hunter very much appreciated. You saw the elation, and that's what you want, is you want players who actually want to be in Jacksonville. When you're in a market like that people do not think of as a destination, you got to draft well if you're in a place like Jacksonville. But also, they brought in a bunch of O-linemen this offseason, and they did so in free agency as well. 4 in free agency, 2 in the draft. They're adding that protection that they need. Some of those rookies may start right away, but heck, they need the protection there for a quarterback that came into the league with more hype than anybody in recent memory and maybe hasn't fully lived up to it, even though we've saw glimmers. And so maybe if you give him the protection, you give him another dynamic weapon there in Travis Hunter, you will see that improvement. But either way, I liked the aggressiveness and the goal there of a brand new and young general manager making his statement on the league. We'll see who's right. By the way, I don't think we had a single team. You had the Falcons, the Patriots, the Bears, the Giants. I'm missing one on your list.
I had the Falcons, Titans, Patriots, Bears, Giants.
We didn't have a single crossover here on that list. I'm not sure that's ever happened on a list segment of a top 5. I had the Commanders, the Ravens, the Broncos, the Jags, and the Browns. Not in that order, but those were all of my teams as well. That's
maybe
pretty cool.
Great minds don't think alike.
Maybe
I
not.
like your list.
Maybe not. We'll see.
Solid, yeah.
Coming up next year on Amber and Ian, why Spike Lee may need to stay away from the next few Knicks games right here on ESPN Radio. You can also listen to us on the ESPN app.
Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN Radio. It's an interleague showdown in Cleveland.
Monster home run from Harper.
Bryce Harper and the Philadelphia Phillies face Jose Ramirez and the Cleveland Guardians. Coverage begins at 6 Eastern with first